Kia te ki te Māori.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone, and welcome to the Taupō District Council meeting, August 2024. Just remind councillors just talk nice and clearly into your speakers, so people at home are aware that they are in the world today hear us. Apologies, I've got Councillor Kevin Taylor and Councillor Kirsty Truman. Any other apologies? Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Fitcher. Seconded by Councillor Westman. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carry. Any conflicts of interest pertaining to the items today?
Through the chair.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, just referring to item 5.1, I'd like to state I don't believe I have a conflict of interest. Item 5.1, financial or other one.
That's for the member to decide that. So members, if there's no interest there, so we will have that recorded. Item 4.1, confirmation of minutes, meeting held on the 30th of July 2024. Any clarification of those minutes? Okay. Can I have a mover that those minutes be? Please. Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. 5.1, the notice of motion, trial mini roundabout for the intersection of Robert Street and Ruapedi Street. Taupo, invite Councillor Campbell to speak to this item for up to 5 minutes, if that's okay, Councillor Campbell.
Yes.
And you've got a presentation to speak. So, floor is yours.
Hey, right, I'll keep this, trying to get this snappy. On the left, you see the intersection as it is now, Robert Street, Ruapedi Street. I'm sure you've been aware of some of the issues that have come to prominence to public opinion since its inception nearly 2 years ago. And a big one is traffic congestion caused by traffic backing up past the restaurants on Roberts Street. Notion for motion today is for a roundabout, temporary for the moment, but one I believe could end up being permanent in a very similar form. We had a brief workshop the week before last where council staff were directed to look for some. The outcome of that was council staff were directed to look for some speed reduction measures for Roberts Street, and also looking at the feasibility of a left turn only restriction from the restaurant section of Roberts Street. I'll call it Roberts Street West. And this left turn restriction would certainly have some of the desired effect to reduce traffic congestion. However, as I'm attempting to demonstrate here, because Roberts Street is also serviced by delivery trucks, and because we probably still would want to allow for right turns out of the McDonald's side of Roberts Street, and even if we weren't, putting something in there to physically restrict right turn movements from happening out of Roberts Street West is quite tricky, if not completely, well, if not very impractical, and will in any event cost a reasonable amount of money to make happen. I think the staff estimate was about 40 grand. Back in January 23, I did a traffic count on. That's just demonstrating some truck movements coming out of both either ends of Roberts Street. The right hand one is say a semi trailer. At the moment, coming out of the McDonald's end of Roberts Street, semi trailers are not allowed to turn left because it's a bit tight for them. So I'm just trying to sort of visually show that. Physically putting some physical obstructions to make it hard for people to turn right out of the restaurant end of Robert Street. It's not actually a very simple or very cheap thing to do. Let's paint a slide. Back in January 23, I did a traffic count on a Saturday morning and put in the numbers to Sidra, which is a traffic modelling software commonly used in New Zealand. I actually doubled the traffic volumes to see how it would work because that Saturday wasn't a holiday weekend. And the results are shown here with those numbers representing average delay for each driver in seconds. So for example, left-hand side, someone trying to come out of Robert Street West in this model scenario. The left-hand side is the current situation. Would take in the order of 300 or 400 seconds. It's about 6 minutes, which is reasonable from the time they enter the queue, the back of the queue, to coming out. So probably not too far off what's happening now. And on the left, you can see Robert Street on both sides. On both sides of Robert Street is not looking too good. Between 6 and 10 minutes to get out of Robert Street once a driver joins the end of the queue. That's the existing situation on the left model there. And on the right is a sample single lane roundabout. The results are very much more pleasing. There are some additional delays to Ruapehu traffic, of course, because they have to stop and give way, but nothing too onerous. And of course, the problem with these traffic models is it all depends on the data you put into them. And people who drive cars are not as predictable as water or steel. Anyone faced with waiting 10 minutes to get out of Roberts Street from the McDonald's end will probably think of alternative routes next time. And putting a roundabout in may possibly encourage more people to use Roberts Street restaurant side as a through route. To be honest, I'm not convinced that would be an unacceptable. However, if some more traffic used Roberts Street, the restaurant end, because as I said, the main issues of public concern are driver speeds, which can be addressed by speed humps, which what we're talking about anyway, and fumes from stationary viewing vehicles, which substantially be no more. In 2023, Dunedin did a bunch of trial temporary roundabouts at a number of sites that cost very little. And as that flyer on the left shows, they are a great way to prove and show the public how an improvement can work. The right-hand picture shows a speed cushion in Browns Bay, Auckland, which was apparently, these speed cushions were apparently used to ensure low driver speeds at some of the Dunedin sites. I'm not sure we actually need them here because it's already a low speed environment, but could be added if there's any doubt. And last slide, just finish up here. Basically, what you see on the left is what you get, and there is very little to it really. A few signs, some road marking, and a small marked or slightly raised island in the middle. And because the centre island serves no more practical function than to advise that it's actually a roundabout, it could even be painted on. The Dunedin examples cost no more than about 15,000 all up, and I believe we wouldn't be talking much more for here, perhaps a little bit more if we decided to use the speed cushions. This is a very low cost improvement. I believe it could be readily used from existing budgetary commitments. If things don't work out, and I really think it is too hard to 100% say if it will or won't work, we can always revert it back. I've left the timing of it open in my motion, because ideally it would be in conjunction with the speed reductions on the rest of Roberts Street so that there's no excuse for any speedsters. So that's all I have to.
Right, thank you, Councillor. Any questions, Councillor Leonard?
Can I just clarify under 5.1, we've got purpose as Councillor Duncan Campbell. Up here I see some symbols of a business, and on the notice of motion it's just signed with no name. I'm just interested, and I'm wondering if Mr. McKetty, you can help us with this. If this item was approved, where would public liability lie should there be an incident? This is being not bought by a member of staff to council, being bought by either some form of a traffic professional or a councillor or an individual. Does that then leave public liability with them, or does that return to us, or where does that liability sit?
I think ultimately, if councillors were minded to pass the motion, then liability is a council decision, right? So liability would sheet back to the council as an organisation. The use of the trans professionals label on here, I don't see that so much of a conflict of interest in the sense that I don't see that the councillor has a duty to the council that's necessarily conflicting to his duty to train professionals, but it's more so probably a lack of appreciation or more so just a lack of recognition of the divide between governance and the operation. It's probably, in my view, that's what's going on here rather than.
I can say something on that. I mean, as a road controlling authority, whatever this council does, it takes responsibility. You can count me as just someone who knows some stuff, making a recommendation. That's all it is. In terms of we had a workshop on this. Seemed that a roundabout was being ruled out at that time because of cost. And I suggested it, but it certainly wouldn't cost nearly as much as we thought. In fact, it would cost a lot less than what we were already proposing. So that's why I decided to come back via this route.
Councillor Rankin?
To be fair, I just want to acknowledge that there are a lot of the public who think this is the ideal solution, and I know that the previous deputy mayor wrote to you and I, David, and begged us to put a roundabout in there. But when you say, Duncan, that Councillor Campbell, sorry, that it could cause more traffic, for example, that really worries me. But don't we also have a hotel going in on the corner, and wouldn't there be complications for that hotel? And didn't we talk about this before? So it's not. It might look to lots of people as a simple outcome, but is it actually?
Any other points of clarification? Councillor Park, sorry.
Through the chair, just to reiterate, Councillor Rankin, exactly why it was ruled out was not just cost, it was because there is development ready to go anytime, and it's not up to us to decide when that is. And to put in, to use ratepayers' money on whether it be free solution that may or may not work from someone who knows a bit of stuff, I think it's completely irrelevant. We've been told to button down and stick to basics, and I'm not prepared to spend or support anything and spending money on something that will basically be ripped up and then have to be redone based on a brand new scenario of what will go on that empty site once it's developed. So I will not be supporting this notice of motion.
All right.
Let us say,
I'm not.
to those points of the development happening on the east side. I mean, it all comes down to what are your options? I'm strongly suggesting that this would be a much better option for that to consider, if only for that consideration, that would work better in that scenario myself. And not only that, I mean, this is cheaper than doing what the other option we were talking about, which is restricting turns, which I could see causing more problems personally.
Councillor Weston?
Most probably just a little bit confused. Is this just going to open up for any of us or anyone to put a motion forward to a meeting when we've already had a meeting a couple of weeks ago from the staff who've done their research, presented us with a couple of options. We've had a conversation back with them. We were expecting our team to come back with the solution, not independent standalone people. I just think this is a very strange motion, and I won't be supporting it.
Okay, all right. Do you want to move your motion, Councillor Campbell? The motion that council direct officers to undertake the implementation of the mini trail for the intersection of Robert Street. You happy to move that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hold on. Sorry, the notice of the motion is given a questionable timing, so that would have to be amended. I mean, sorry.
Okay.
If this should happen, my recommendation is that it should happen at the same time as the speed reduction measures, which we are talking about doing there. In any case, perhaps Roger can.
She's undermined.
Roger can clarify the timing of that.
I'll let the CEO.
Or if I
Yeah.
may, just in terms of process, perhaps if we can, rather than debate the topic, we can debate the motion.
Yeah.
I would just perhaps add, just to further Nigel's comments around the local government decision-making provisions and what staff have to do in terms of providing a report is to comply with sections 76 to 82 of the Local Government Act. And I'm not sure the notice of motion complies with that. So I'm not quite sure the right time to bring that in. But I do need councillors to be aware.
Okay, so we'll go to the motion.
Oh, yeah, the motion, if we can leave it in draft form of, as to timing, but
So you're happy to move that?
yep,
Okay, so the motion could be amended if it was carried out. Could I have a seconder, please? There's been no seconder, so the motion is lost.
okay.
Thank you. 5.2. Final consideration of plan changes 40. Taupō Town Centre and 41, removal of fault lines. Invite Hillary. Hi, Hillary. Good afternoon. Nice to see you.
So I'm just trying to,
Well, what's happened? What have you done?
all right, a fairly straightforward mechanical item this afternoon, just to give final approval to 2 plan changes. You will remember in May, you gave approval to the decisions, which are then notified, and following the appeal period, no appeals were received on these 2 plan changes. So we can basically give them the final sign off, and we need to put a notice in the paper, and then they become fully operative and live in the plan, in our e-plan. Just a note, the other 3 plan changes did receive appeals, which is not unexpected. You usually do receive appeals on plan changes of these scale. And so I'll be bringing a further item back to you next month in regard to the delegation for dealing with those appeals.
Good. Thank you, Hillary. Any questions of Hillary, clarification? Another milestone in the
They're getting
world of planning. Well done. Thank you, Bishop. Yes, Councillor Lachlan. You happy to move? Yes, sure. I was just halfway through my contractual. No, hey, good work, Hillary, and thank you. You could pass on our thanks to the team to get those 2 over the line. So we moved by Councillor Lachlan, seconded please by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against. Carried. Thank you very much, Hillary. Good to see you. 5.3, appointment of commissioners and delegation of decision making for proposed land use consent for 4 new townhouses. Heather, good afternoon, Heather.
From councillors. And around about June this year, we limited notified an application for 4 townhouses going just around the corner on 66 Rough Range Road. Limited notification means that only those people who receive the notice are able to submit, and out of that we had 1 in support, 1 neutral and 1 in opposition. And given we had a submission in opposition who also wanted to be heard, we need to hold a hearing. So in that we have 2 councillors who hold the accreditation to be commissioners, being Councillor Westerman and Councillor Taylor. And we need to appoint an independent chairperson who holds the accreditation as a chairperson to be able to run the hearing. So what we've recommended here is to appoint an independent commissioner with the chairperson accreditation being Mr. Cam Twigley from the company VTW, and also to have Councillor Yvonne Westerman sit on that hearing panel. But we've also added in there, in case sickness or some other situation arises, that if need be, Mr. Twigley would be able to both hear, consider and decide alone should Councillor Westerman not be available. Our basis, basically, and that.
Thanks, Heather. Any questions or queries of Heather? No, all pretty straightforward. The recommendation there. Could I have a mover? Councillor Shepherd. Second, Councillor Lachlan.
Aye.
Yeah. Just reading it now. Making sure we've got it all right. Councillor Westman, you're comfortable with that? Yep, cool. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Heather. Next up, we have 5.4, Taupō District Council's Te Papamārearea Māori wards. Shaney, good afternoon, Shaney. How are you? Shaney is the Democracy Manager for the Taupō District Council.
No, your worship, councillors. You will be aware that the government has recently amended local electoral legislation. The amendments consist of three main changes. The first change relates to key dates in the elections process. The dates have been altered to allow for a longer period for the postal votes to be delivered and returned. The extra time comes from a slightly shorter time frame for electors to enrol in the printed electoral roll in a slightly shorter nomination period. The second change is that the poll provisions relating to Māori wards have been reinstated, so that 5% of electors can require councils proposing to establish Māori wards to conduct a binding poll on the establishment of those wards. Finally, the Amendment Act contains transitional provisions for councils that have either established Māori wards since 2020, of which the District Council is one, or have resolved to establish Māori wards from next year onwards. And as a result of these transitional provisions, you're now required to make a decision in relation to Te Papamārearea Māori ward no later than the 6th of September. There are two options open to you. You can retain Te Papamārearea Māori ward, and as a result of that, you would need to conduct a binding poll alongside next year's elections. The outcome of the poll would then apply to the 2028 and 2031 elections in terms of council. The other option is you can disestablish the ward and then immediately conduct a shortened representation review ahead of next year's elections, and that would need to be finished before Christmas. Officers have considered both of these options. It is our recommendation that you retain Te Papamārearea Māori ward and therefore conduct a binding poll next year. We've outlined the reasons for that recommendation in the paper attached to the agenda, but that's also consistent with your recent position to government as part of the amendment process in the submission to the Select Committee. But as I mentioned before, both of those options are open to you. I have to take questions, Your Worship.
Cool. Thank you, Shani. Any questions or queries, Shani? Councillor Campbell.
I note that all excepting Councillor Leonard and myself supported a submission to the local government amendment bill select committee sent in by this council on 28th of May on this subject of Māori wards. I'm wondering if this is evidence of predetermination, and also wonder if those elected members who voted in support of that submission are considering to withdraw from part of this and withdrawing from taking part in this decision, and if not, why not?
I reiterate, both options are open to you today.
Any other questions or queries? Okay. Councillor Campbell, follow up?
Well, follow up, but didn't get a response. But no, I'd like to make a summation, my take on this. In my opinion, issue of Māori wards is a distraction from the bigger problems facing this council. One of which is that elected members, and this is my opinion, one of which is that elected members are not properly able to do their job as defined in the purpose of the local government in Section 10 of the Local Government Act, which is to enable local democratic decision-making and action on behalf of communities. And I believe that can include Māori ward councillors. So even though I have yet to hear a compelling argument, and even though I feel the council's submission to government in May of this year was somewhat demeaning to constituents because it seems to infer they will primarily vote on the basis of race, because there's been no real debate in these council chambers, and in order to actually enable some local decision making to happen, I will be voting to retain Māori wards in order to give constituents a proper say via a referendum in 2025, because if we don't, we will be just as guilty of ignoring the opinions of constituents is when Māori wards were established back in 2020. So may the best argument win. That's what I say.
Councillor Park.
Yeah, just through the chair, I'd just like to go back and say that if those that voted for the submission to be submitted to the select committee process was makes me predetermined, then so is Duncan Campbell for voting against it. So that's a pretty weak point.
They're waiting for it.
I'm sorry, I'm not having a conversation with you, Councillor Campbell. You've had your turn. I believe that we in the Taupō District are extremely lucky with our Māori ward representation and the members, the calibre of our councillors, regardless of whether they're on the Māori ward councillor or a district councillor. On the whole, we've got a pretty good bunch of people who well represent the diversity of our district. We also take into account our great rural folk who are a big factor and a big contributor to our economy. And so I think it's only fair that we show that we're fully representative. And while it's good enough for central government to have 2 electoral roles, I think it's good enough for us to actually believe in the electoral process as much as this country does. So I therefore will be voting to retain Māori ward seats. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Williamson.
Probably just because Councillor Buck's commentary, I just feel that Campbell's commentary is a bit misguided, a bit misleading, unfortunately, in terms of effectiveness representation of Māori wards. Obviously, I will be supporting the retention of the woods, and even though I'm not displeased with the actual poll, it is what it is. So going into next year, the poll is triggered. Well, eventually see what the outcome is without predetermining, given now the Māori wards are vetted and perhaps more accepted in terms of general populace. So to that extent, I will be supporting the retention of the wards.
Councillor Williamson. Councillor Rankin.
I just want to declare that I do not have a predetermined view. I'm cynical enough to believe that the government will do what it wants to do, just as the previous government did what it wanted to do. So it made no difference to me whatsoever whether we sent the letter or not. So I do not have a predetermined position.
Very good. Any other councillors? No. Okay, there's a recommendation there. The council resolves to retain the Taupō District Council's Te Papamārearea Māori ward and conduct a binding poll alongside the 2025 elections, with the outcome of the poll to apply in 2028 and 2031. Do I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Westman, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? No. Motion is carried. No one against. No.
Yeah, I'm good.
He's all good. He's all good. Item 5.5, Waikato Water done well. Joe Walton and
Mr. Hale.
Mr. Anthony Hale. Tony Hale, sorry. Good afternoon, team.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, councillors. Okay, the paper that you have, Waikato Water Done Well proposal. We've talked many times in this chamber on the journey of the previous water reform. We've more recently talked about local water done well, and then we've even more recently talked about Waikato Water done well. The information is all in the paper there around some recent workshops that we've had, meetings, and Joe is going to provide a bit of a high-level brief summary, discussing the options and recommendation.
Thanks, Tony. I won't go into too much detail, but as you recall, on the 8th of August, we had the Waikato Forum present in a workshop to council, Vaughan Payne, Don McLeod and Calvin French. And we had some opportunity to discuss that. The initial, perhaps when you first read this report, it seems like we're asking you to make quite a significant decision, and that was our initial reaction also. But in actual fact, the decision at this point
is really just to continue and keeping our options open, as that's the way we're really considering it. So there's been work done by the Waikato Forum. We consider that the risks of opting out now are greater than it would be to stay in the discussions. And so that's what we're recommending at this point. There's still a couple of points where we would have opportunities to exit the work stream at that point. So as the recommendation stands, we'll be bringing back, if we move forward today, we'll be bringing back a heads of agreement to the council to then choose to sign or not that sometime in October, November. So that would be a future opportunity to remain in or exit. And then obviously before we did any significant decision to commit to some form of the Waikato working together, that would be a big decision, and we would be doing the engagement and everything before we came to that recommendation. So at this point, we're just saying we recommend staying in the tent for the discussions with the other Waikato council.
Councillor Park?
Yes, so sorry, thank you, Joan. Apologies, I had to leave that workshop early, but I just thank you for clarifying. It's about staying in the sandpit
Yeah.
rather than outside, 'cause that's where, but it doesn't prevent us from still looking at other opportunities. And I just also, just to clarify, because when I read heads of agreement and with three waters in the same sort of, it scared me a little after what we went through with LG&Z last time. So thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
The Chair, just to reiterate, that's a non-binding heads of agreement as well.
All right, any other questions? Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, my reading of the paper, I don't know, I'm somewhat hesitant because how should I put it? It's it could be a slippery. It seems like leading down a slippery slope of going along with something which isn't necessarily for the best of the district. And I reading between the lines, staff may very well support this because being part of a bigger organisation gives better career opportunities. I mean, it would. I mean, the Three Waters would have.
It's out of line.
Reading between the lines, and I see some. I mean, access to cheaper debt. That's seen as an advantage. I'm not really convinced that's a very good inducement myself. In terms of the disadvantages, I know in that little mini workshop thing we had, there being part of a bigger corporate, if you like, and us being a minor partner, that is a potential disadvantage, and that resources might not come our way as much as we would like it to. And I realise that there's advantages of keeping in the discussion to see what. Yes, I think that's a good idea. I think it's a little, from the sounds of it, it's a bit too early to hold our heads up high and cut ourselves short. But a question also, Rotorua, they've, my understanding, I've only had some brief discussions, but Rotorua have been offered a similar inducement, and they have decided to go it and to join a bigger, not Waikato, not part of this one, but I think there's something else going on over there. But my understanding is that they have decided to go it alone, and I think as well as doing this, just keeping our heads in with this, it would be advantageous to have some discussions with Rotorua as well, because we could end up, they're our nearest buddy, and maybe it would be a better arrangement to work with them.
Councillor Shepherd, sorry, Councillor Shepherd.
I guess to your point, Councillor Campbell, all the more reason to have a voice at the table, eh?
Yes, no, I'm good with that. Yes.
Okay, cool. So my only question then is this, obviously, but I hope it's noted that it's non-binding in writing. It's on the document, not implied for a start. And secondly, I assume this doesn't preclude us from being able to enter into similar heads of agreements with other regions, should we so want to at an early stage, because we should be at all of the sandpits.
Greg, Tony.
I'll just answer a couple of points that Councillor Campbell raised. So a lot of the benefits as proposed literally came from the Waikato report. So it wasn't that we are saying this is what we think and this is why we think it's a great idea. We're trying to still consider all the options at the moment. So this is just one of the work streams, which is here's the proposal that we've received and we think it's worth considering. But in the meantime, we're definitely doing work into considering what all of our options are. So the options analysis is going to be keeping me and a number of others quite busy for the next few months. Yeah, and then answer to Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, just to add, I mean, we are in the seat on this one. We are open to what other proposals may well be out there. Just to add to the Rotorua one, I mean, Rotorua Lakes Council have got their Infocor, and they've got their own internal CCO, so I think they might be reviewing some of that. And also, just to bear in mind, we have a water service delivery plan that we've got to start working soon. And in that, we will have to indicate our options moving forward in relationship to water service delivery and how we're going to deliver it. Are we going to be exploring what options are there? So this is just a very early stages on that journey, hence why it's a non-binding, hence why we believe that the benefits outweigh the negatives. And we will be coming back. We're not making any decisions behind the scenes. We'll be bringing everything back to you in October.
Just one more point. The water service delivery plan, there is an obligation in there to consider what opportunities exist to do water services better. So part of that process is requiring us to at least consider how we do this and reflect on it. So that's part of this process as well.
So in answer to my question, that this agreement does not preclude us from entering into a similar agreement, should that be presented to us? Because that's what I'd be concerned about. We need to look at all options.
I mean, through the chair, we were looking obviously at the legal implications with signing up to a HOA. So we're working with Nigel and the team around what the implications are for signing up to any non-binding heads of agreement. So we make sure we explore that. But thank you for bringing it up.
So Williamson, Rachel's actually some of that point. Obviously, we go back to the previous government. I get with local government New Zealand, there was a MOU often opted out. Obviously, there's nothing so possible, but obviously I'm completely confident the direction you're taking us, and as I say, we need to be at the table as well. But yeah, non-binding sometimes call me cynical. I'm not really cynical by nature, but just there's always there's something to make in mind. Something has to be done. I mean, we agree the status quo is not needs to be changed, but
That's a green slate.
Thank you, Bishop. I'm just looking at the financial considerations. There's 194,000, so roughly 200,000 left over, and you've got an expenditure of 150,000 per year for 1 and 2. That's essentially 500,000. Am I right in that?
Yeah, that is right, that we have at the moment, but that part of that is making sure that we're able to comply with the legislation of the water service delivery plan. And because there's so much uncertainty, we kind of come up with an estimate of what might be required. That would not, so that's to do the right level of engagement, consultation, analysis of what our options are, going to need consultants. So that's what that money's for. We don't have a clear budget of what it looks like spending at the moment. It's really just
That's over the 2 years.
Yes, over the 2 years.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
And sorry, just to clarify that, remaining 194,000 was the transition funding that we got from DOJ.
We don't have to give it back though, do we?
No, we're going to spend it.
Councillor Campbell.
So are you talking to Rotorua? I mean, we've got a handy contact there, Andrew Moraes, he seems amenable for advice, contact, cooperation.
Through the chair, there's lots of conversations taking place. There really is right across the region and the wider. There really is. I mean, I know that there would have been conversations taking place at the conference last week. So there's lots going on.
Councillor Lachlan.
There is some logic though in terms of working with the Waikato region because of the Waikato River and the interactions in terms of all these different systems up and down there but also those historic relationships too, in terms of being one regional council makes a whole lot of sense as well. I'm stating the obvious, but yeah.
Actually, Julie was
Well, I was just going to note, look, Taupō is in a rather unique position. We are part of 4 regional council areas, and so we have the opportunity to participate in 4 mayoral forums. We actively participate in the Bay of Plenty and in the Waikato Mayoral Forum. We have stated that we are participating in the business cases and the work in the Waikato Forum for much the same reason as Councillor Lachlan has suggested. That doesn't mean that we're not also talking and listening to the conversations that are occurring, particularly in those other regions that we're a member of. So acknowledge there's definitely some geographic and some relationship reasons why we're part of the Waikato, particularly being in the Waikato Regional Council. But we're certainly part and listening to some of those wider conversations that are occurring actually right across New Zealand as we all come to terms with what this looks like and the uncertainty that we're in at the moment, waiting for further legislation. So including Rotorua.
You have a question? Is the regulator, are they up and running now?
There is a water regulator.
Yeah. So they're actually operating on it.
Absolutely, they have been for 2 years.
Yeah.
Well,
The message out of Wellington last week was be with someone, be part of the, sort of partially in the tent and not out of the tent. So I think, the option today is the right way to go. So thank you for presenting that, Joe and Tony. Any other final questions? You're happy to move? Councillor Parks moved that. And do I have a second? Councillor Rankin, thank you very much. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Happy with that? Doesn't say non-binding, does it?
Yeah, it's so non-binding.
Yeah. Do we need?
On 4, so
Oh,
Non-binding heads of agreement.
Well, just obviously that heads of agreement comes back to council.
for
So I was really going to highlight, particularly around the points around council, maybe council staff, maybe pushing it, was that it's actually your decision. So it's coming to you in October and you can make that decision at that point in time.
I just want it to say non-binding.
and through the chair too says it's in principle as well.
Yeah, and the report also highlights that heads of agreement would also have some clear off ramps, so abilities to opt out. So
okay.
So just to clarify, in October, that the plan is that we would have a report presented to us where it's a yes or no decision, join up or miss the boat, pretty much.
The first decision will be just to sign the heads of agreement, and the heads of agreement will be to commit to actually working together in good faith to negotiate what a possible entity could look like. So then there'll be a second decision that would come back. If we keep going on this process, that would come back sometime in 2025, the first half of 2025, to say what that might look like. And an option on the table for us might be, it's not right for us now, but maybe later. So, but as being part of the negotiation up front, we can determine some of those principles that may make it more palatable for us, even if we don't want to be in right now. So that's some of the benefits that we see of staying in the conversation. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Cool. So that will come to us. So we're happy 1, 2, 3 and 4 at the moment. Yep. Did I have a move this? Councillor Parks and by Councillor.
Rankin.
Sorry. Seems a long time ago. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. So
Be recorded as abstaining from that one, please.
abstention from Councillor Leonard. Very good. Okay, 5.6. Proposed rating updates to delegations manual. Waikato would have done well. Fiona. Oh, that's not. I was going to say, I didn't think it was the same. Just the proposed rating updates to delegations manual. Nothing to do with Waikato. Fiona, good afternoon. Welcome.
Before you is paper proposing the moving of rating delegations from the rates remission and postponement policy to the council's delegation manual. The paper also proposes stating each delegation in more detail in order to provide staff and the public with more clarity and certainty about the scope of staff roles. I'll take paper as read and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions of Fee? Diana?
Happy to move if there's no questions.
Sorry.
Happy to move if there's no.
Okay, any questions? No?
Pretty mechanical.
Okay, mechanical by the sound of it. Moved by councillor Lachlan, seconded by councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you.
Now I know who your brother is.
No, don't.
All right, Taupō, item 5.7, Taupō District Council Performance Report. And first up we have Sarah, correct? Or did you want to do some leading?
Or
Comments?
perhaps just note in terms of my introduction, it does talk to Te Kapua Papatakaro, and that we would be attending the LGNZ conference and would be a part of the finalists for the Super Collab Awards. Just to note, of course, that we were highly commended in that award. So great outcome, and also just highlighting the great outcome that we received across the Waikato for the consultation document. So.
Can I just comment and say it's a real honour to be there with Waka Asher, the new co-gov chair, and I think it was tickled pink.
Thank you for attending. Right, for now.
Hope everyone's well. Okay, I won't take up too much time, but obviously just a portfolio update, significant projects. We're a couple of months into our new financial year or the interim period. And I brought along Peter van Niekerk because I know everyone's quite, Southern Trunk Main is going really well, but there's a lot of orange cones, obviously, so I know
You on Saturday.
questions for Peter.
I thought you brought him along for the moral supports in South Africa.
I'll take the report as read, but obviously we've seen some early warnings on risk, I guess, for the SCADA upgrade. It's an early warning that the cost may increase if additional integrators have to be brought in. So the Taupō Wastewater Clarifier 3 project, did some early work with designers, have flagged that the budget's possibly too low, so we need to come back and provide some more information on that. Crown Road, waiting for Unison to sign off the design package. It's currently sitting with their CE at present. There's a working group this evening to talk about that further. And the risk has decreased on quantum around. And just a comment from Travis, who wanted you all to know that OD Park has had some delays in the last couple of days given the rain. And just before I pass over to Peter, I just wanted to say that next month we've had a lot of projects finished, which is great news. I love that part. We've got Bontrail Park finishing up, Turangi Curb and Channel, Northern Access Investigation, Wairake Drive, Hawkins Road. And what you should see in this report as part of the LTP adoption process from October will be a new program of transport projects, obviously, depending on the outcome of the Waka Kotahi news, and things like, we're just going through that review at the moment, but things like the program of work at Turangi Park. So we're just going through that list and identifying which projects will turn up on this. But
Very good.
today, Peter, who looks after Southern Trunk Main, very closely with Mike Waddell, Wastewater Asset Manager.
Afternoon, Peter. How are you? Good to see you.
Excuse me. Just a short update on the project. You would have seen all the cones on Lake Terrace and all the work that's happening in Mary Street. So up to date, the contractor has installed about 3 kilometers of pipe into the ground, with about another 2.2 kilometers left to install. Currently, they are working their way back from Tremaine. So the next portion of work will be from Tremaine up until just past Shepherd. So that's where the cones will move to. The ones that's currently past the Tuma Bay Sailing Club should hopefully be taken away in the next couple of weeks. As soon as the holes and everything that's been excavated, they've been backfilled and sealed up. We've opened up Mary Street. That will be staying open until we just do pressure test on the pipeline that's been installed there and the last connection there. But if we do that we'll close the road, but it shouldn't be closed for a month. It might be only for a week. So, and other than that, haven't had too many complaints yet from any residents that we've seen, except just kids or people that will be moving cones around, throwing cones into the lake, and just creating more work for the traffic management crew to come and do over weekends. The next portion of pipe is, like I said, from Tremaine to Shepherd, and that's an aquatherm. That's a specialized pipe due to the geothermal area through there. And there's 2 portions of that will be installed. But the project is still on track to finish in the first week of December. Even though we've had a significant issues with underground services and hard rock and drilling through all of that. So, but the project is still on track to finish the 6th of December. I don't know if sorry?
On the 6th?
Yes. Yep.
It's a big pipe.
It is.
The big pipe, isn't it? Hey, where is that pipe made? With, the plastic pipe.
It's getting made. Most of it is in Auckland, but the specialized pipe comes from, I think it's in Italy. Yep.
It's a thermal, cut with a thermal. Yeah.
It can handle temperatures 80 to 90 degrees Celsius. Yeah. We've encountered some more hot ground at on Mary, but it was only about 40 degrees Celsius, so that shouldn't be any issues. But yeah.
Councillor Campbell.
I just, so they colour coded these pipes, so it's black as water, right?
Yeah, the ones that's getting installed, it's got a purple line on it, so that's for the wastewater.
So I've seen blue ones around, is that?
That's for the water use.
Oh, I see.
It just depends on the size of the pipes as well.
No, okay.
And then we do install tracer wire with it, and where we've excavated, we've put a tape over it to say wastewater or water. Just to identify the pipe as well.
And just traffic management, obvious questions, but you see criticism flying around. They've already cleared the site, but all the cones still there. I mean, are you saying within a day or so?
I know one of the complaints was fast countdown with the cone still staying.
Okay.
And that's only due to us occupying the cycle lane, and then we have to pack out cones the whole stretch of the road. But that will be sealed up this week, and then those cones will be taken away.
Oh yeah, no, I think I seen them with that today. Yep.
And other than that, we've had to increase the cones because of the spacing. Previously, they were spaced more open, and people will go and make U-turns through the site and just drive through cones and drive up oncoming traffic. So that's why we had to increase some of the cones through that area where we're working.
Councillor Lachlan.
Tricky question. So just with the SCADA upgrade and the timing of the long-term plan, sometimes these things cause a bit of concern because you know that you might need a bigger number. Is there an expectation that we might amend the final plan once the consultation process is finished with a number, or we still don't have enough certainty around what that might be, or how does that work?
Happy to defer to Tony, but as far as I understand, it's very much an early warning at this stage. I don't think we've thought through the exact ramifications until we've got the detail. It's just a time pressure. We do want to get it finished by the end of this year. I think that we do need to find someone at relatively short notice. No charge. But we'll have to think that through. Perhaps I'll come back next month with further updates.
Very good. Yeah, and I think traffic management are doing their very best. They seem to be all good personalities when you're going past and all that sort of thing, because I can imagine there's a lot of people not appropriate going past, with the disruption, but I think they're doing a good job. So I just wondered if there's an opportunity there, and I don't think you want any more work, but to perhaps get one of the schools 7th form class just down there to to look at the pipe and look how they're doing it and that sort of thing. I know it's probably a big disruption, but I'm thinking could be a possible opportunity there. We're always looking for people to go into that industry.
I will take it up with the contractor.
Yeah, just might have a little open 2 hours or something like that. I don't know. I just thinking out loud. Any other questions of Peter? Curb and channeling in Turangi. Did you manage to find any more money?
It's all completed. Teranini, the contractor has gone through and tidied up the berms, and we've sorted out some footpaths that still needed to be done. The parking, the 4-car park in front of the new playground, that will be happening starting this week as well. So that will hopefully in the next 3 weeks that should be completed there.
Cool. Councillor Greenslade.
Thank you for that, Peter. And yes, I went down there the other day and had a look. It's looking much tidier. I'm just wondering about the planting program for those streets, considering this is the time of the year that we should be planting trees. Are we sort of on track for that?
For that, I need to follow up with Andrew Moore. Has been I've spoken with him and we've made up lists, so I just need to follow up with him. I'll make a note and come back to you.
Just don't want them planted in February.
Thank you, Pete, and thank you for attending the governance meetings and your contribution to those. So you've been brilliant, mate.
Thank you.
Right, what's next? Thank you for now. Anything else? No, all good? Thank you very much. Shirley,
No, nothing further unless there's any
Nothing.
other questions.
nothing further on the exec?
No, no financials at this point because they're going into the annual report, just for clarity.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Councillor Park.
Sorry, Councillor Loughlin, just can I, Julie, if I can just ask you a question about Audit New Zealand, they were sort of being a bit pedantic and dragging the chain a little bit. Have we, are the executive quite happy that are the executive quite satisfied that we're in a place where we'll be heading for adoption at the end of September?
Yeah, I'll look at Sarah. We've had a number of interactions with auditors.
Yeah, we're trying to mitigate that risk as much as possible, including we're having regular meetings with our auditors, and Leon has probably provided a little bit of it. Sorry, our change in audit manager, director has provided probably a little bit of a change in expectation as well, and he certainly seems to be on our same wavelength as to adopt it by the end of September. So there's nothing that I've seen so far that would lead me to believe that we won't be adopting 30th September. I guess our probably concerns were what we were seeing across the sector rather than what's happening here at Taupō. So yeah, all positive so far.
Thank you, Sarah, and just through the chair, Julie, we'll talk about it, risk and audit, but there are concerns about how much we pay them and the community misses out on and has to pay in rates given if we don't have these sign off, we can't adopt. So they hold us to account in a lot of ways, but where is that in reverse?
Yeah, so I totally agree with the councillor. The Office of the Auditor General has also approached central government asking for a review. And obviously you've seen that in the commentary that's come out in the last few days from central government, looking at a change in terms of accountability frameworks. That may mean, actually does mean through our Three Waters activities, some of those will go through the Commerce Commission as opposed to through the Auditor General. So changes to come, but totally support your commentary around the cost to the sector. It's grown to the point that it's getting out of hand.
It's absurd.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much. The recommendation up there. Could I have a mover, please? Seconded by Councillor Pepper. All that. Yeah. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you very much. Okay, well, that's the public part of the meeting finished, isn't it? Right. What else we got?
5.8.
Making sure we're reading our
Item 5.8. Item 5.8. Council engagements. September. Karen.
Yeah, everything is up to date as of this moment on the report, so nothing further.
Any questions, queries on the appointments?
Sorry, just through the chair. So there's a day in Turangi tomorrow and then again next week. Is that correct?
Of the code.
I've got co-governance there in
Oh,
mind.
no, it says it posted the date. The place and the date.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Where's the
isn't it-
work- no, it's
Oh,
not
no,
tomorrow,
it's
it's
not.
There's a workshop and there is,
Oh,
and then there's a co-governance, and then I've got the Tongariro representative.
Oh,
group. So
thank
we've
you.
got it all on the same day, and but that was because I was at LGNZ and wasn't able to do it last week.
Thank you.
That should work out quite nicely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, through the chair, just to confirm, so the Taupō Airport one on the 23rd, is that because the other one didn't happen the other week?
The 23rd was.
Yeah, no, we had a meeting.
Oh, sorry, is this?
This is the next meeting.
Sorry?
This is the next meeting.
Just the next meeting.
Oh, so you had that meeting, eh? Yeah, right. Okay.
Aren't you a member of that?
No, I was, but I didn't show up and I wasn't sure, no, I wasn't here. But I wasn't sure if there was a quorum and that wasn't, yeah, it did happen, right?
Yes, yeah, it did go through, there was quorum, and this is the next meeting.
Yes, right.
Very good. Okay, no other changes or amendments or anything? Could I move it, please? Thank you. Councillor Fletcher, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Lachlan. All those in favour, please say aye. Carried. Okay, now we'll go into confidence.
Move.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Aye.
All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried.